Okay, so if you look at the structure of our cholesterol. Now, cholesterol is very hydrophobic again, no? And there's only a small part that is hydrophilic, which is polar, but the rest of the structure of cholesterol is hydrophobic. No? And in a body, we usually is composed of water, or even the cell is composed of water. And it's how do we transport our hydrophobic cholesterol? So there is what we call as lipoproteins. So lipoproteins are spherically shaped clusters containing both lipid molecules and protein molecules. So this is our lipoproteins here. You can see here in the structure, you have your protein part and you have your lipid molecules. No, lipid. You have your cholesterol ester, you have your phospholipids in purple here, phospholipids. And then you have your cholesterol ester, it's like just a cholesterol. And then your hydrophobic tails, yellow one. You have the hydrophobic tails from your phospholipids here. Okay, and the green anesterified cholesterol. Okay, and you have the tail, the hydrophobic part, the yellow one are the hydrophobic tails, and the cholesterol esters. So you have your cholesterol, the yellow one, and you have your phospholipids and unesterified cholesterol here, and then you have your protein. And this is the one that carries our cholesterol, which is hydrophobic. And if you remember your phospholipids, the lipids, no, the phospholipid has a hydrophilic part and which has a hydrophobic part. So let's say here, the purple. So the purple has a hydrophilic part katong head niya, no, which can interact with water, and there is a tail which is a hydrophobic, which can interact with hydrophobic molecules. So for instance, your cholesterol. And you can see in the structure of this lipoprotein structure, mixed yang structure. Actually, there's a lot of components. As you can see in the lipoproteins, you have your phospholipid, your cholesterol esters, you have your protein. This is the part which is a protein. Now that binds all these structures here, these metabolites here. And buried in the hydrophobic part of your phospholipid structure of this lipoprotein is your cholesterol. This is the one. This is the tail. It's the hydrophobic tail. So you can see this one is your cholesterol. Ano na tail ang cholesterol? Remember, nasa siya side chain. No? Remember, kani. And that becomes your tail here in the structure of cholesterol. Kani yellow. But this one is another tail for your lipo phospholipids. So the composition of lipoproteins, again, you have your core, which is composed of cholesterol and cholesterol esters. We say cholesterol esters, skip parts, cholesterol. Later I'll show you. You have it is a similar structure with cholesterol in the cholesterol esters. You can just see some ester groups there. Then you have your triglycerides. Sa itong triglycerides nimo, katong na ay triglycerol and the hydrophobic part, no, which is your katong fatty acid, the tails of your fatty acid. Okay, and then you have your surface, the surface here. You have your phospholipids, you have your proteins, kanin, and then you have there, this one, phospholipids, and you have your proteins on the surface. And very inside, you have your triglycerides, just a small portion, and then the majority, to 30%, you have your cholesterol and the esters of cholesterol. So it is spherical in shape, and this is a cluster, no? So more segment compact ones that are bounded together, no? By weak forces of interaction. So there's a hydrophobic interactions with the hydrophobic molecules, and here in the surface, here can have the ionic interactions or polar interactions, like hydrogen bond interactions or ionic interactions. And we have an ionic part here. Okay, so you have actually two kinds of lipoproteins, three rather, and another one. Majority, you have your HDL, LDL, and VDL. So again, you have already mentioned that one. You have the high density lipoprotein or HDL. Consider this one as a good cholesterol. And the percent composition is about 30% protein, 30% cholesterol. You have here proteins around 30% and around 29% phospholipids, and cholesterol is 30%, 30% protein, 30% cholesterol. And a low density lipoprotein is a bad cholesterol. It contains a low percent of your protein again and a high percent of your cholesterol, about 50%. And a very low density lipoprotein or VLDL, it contains triglycerides, which mostly carries triglycerides synthesized by the liver. You have the VLDL. So it contains, you have a lot of triglycerides with your VLDL and a very low percent proteins. Okay. It carries, again, the VLDL carries mostly triglycerides or fats synthesized by the liver. And then the last one is the chylomicrons. It transport lipids from the small intestines, delivers triglycerides to the body cells. It's a NASA chylomicrons. 84% actually is composed of triglycerides. And so here there's depending on the composition, this one would vary, whether it's a HDL, LDL, VLDL, or chylomicron. And depending on what's inside or in the core, mag-vary ang imong cholesterol and triglyceride level here inside. Okay, and you have on the surface, usually you have your phospholipids and of course your protein, number 4. Okay. So transportation of cholesterol, what happens in the liver? What happens? So in the liver, the VLDL is transformed into the low density lipoprotein, and low density lipoprotein is to deliver cholesterol to the cell, the source cell, and in the cell, HDL, the LDL is converted to HDL. HDL is to remove the excess cholesterol from cells. Okay, and this one transports, liver converts HDL into bile salts. And then here, the liver again, the HDL, the liver converts HDL into bile salts. So the liver again, in the liver, the VLDL again is transformed into the LDL, LDL into the cell, and the cell to HDL, HDL converts into the bile salts, and you have here. So the part here, the LDL is to deliver cholesterol to the cell, and again, HDL is to remove the excess cholesterol from the cells, and that is the purpose of the HDL. So which one is the bad cholesterol? Bad cholesterol, just the term bad cholesterol, it's not fine. So again, our cholesterol in the body is always regulated, it's always dynamic. Our body or system or cells has a mechanism in order to regulate the levels rather of the cholesterol in our body. And you have the LDL and HDL to actually transport that into the cell and to the different parts of the cell, and to the liver, and to the cell again. You have the LDL and HDL, and it will the liver converts HDL into bile salts once it is in the liver. So the content of chylomicron remnant salts, other lipids in the liver, are incorporated into another type of lipoprotein called one is very low density lipoprotein or VLDL. And similar to chylomicrons, the main job of very low density lipoprotein is to deliver triglycerides to the body cells. And lipoprotein lipase again helps to break down the triglycerides so that they can enter the cells, can have this structure. And as triglycerides are removed from very low density lipoproteins, they get smaller and more dense because they now contain relatively more protein compared to triglycerides. So they become intermediate lipoproteins and eventually low density lipoprotein. And the main job of LDL or low density lipoprotein is to deliver cholesterol to body cells. And as we know, cholesterol has many roles around the body, so this is an important job. And LDL deliver cholesterol to the cell. And cholesterol has a very important job. Why? It is a precursor to different hormones in the body. For example, the sex hormones, the other hormones. No, it is a precursor. However, too much LDL can increase a person's risk of cardiovascular disease. So once you have a very high level of LDL, no, it becomes increase the risks of a person's cardiovascular disease. Naturally, because this one transports cholesterol through someone associated with atherosclerosis when you have a high percent of LDL, high level of LDL in the body. It can increase a person's risk of cardiovascular disease because the main job of the LDL is to transport or deliver cholesterol to the body cells. And the high density lipoproteins or HDL are made in the liver and gastrointestinal tract. In the liver and gastrointestinal tract, they're mostly made up of proteins. When you say high density lipoproteins, of course, a higher portion of proteins are mostly made up of proteins, so they're very dense. And again, their job is to pick up cholesterol from the body cells and return it to the liver. The HDL would pick up cholesterol from the cells and divert back to the liver or deliver back to the liver in the form of bile salts. So again, here is a diagram of how the transfer of cholesterol occurs. It's phallic. You have your dietary fat, and what happens, the chylomicron carry triglycerides from small intestines to body cells. Remember when you eat fatty foods, no? When you eat fatty foods, for example, the same thing ginakaon. Ito ang mga fatty foods. Ito ang mga fatty foods. Cake. Okay, cake na lang. Fatty foods. Of course, there's a lot of oils in ginakaon there. What else? Fats, animal fats, no? The chylomicron carry triglycerides from small intestines to body cells. Okay, so it goes into the lymph and then to the body bloodstream, and then the chylomicron again would convert the triglycerides into fatty acids and glycerol using the lipoprotein lipase, and then it will be carried into the body cells. Now, the body cells, and again, from here, from when your chylomicron convert triglycerides to fatty acids, the chylomicron remnant travels to liver for disassembly. So it goes to the liver, the chylomicron, for disassembly of your fatty acids, triglycerides, once it is in the liver, the VLDL produced by the liver brings more triglycerides to the body cells. Okay, so what happens with the VLDL? It converts triglycerides into fatty acids and glycerols using the lipoprotein lipase. There's a lipase. It's an enzyme, and it will be converted into fatty acids, glycerol. And so ang fatty acids are the fatty acids used for energy or stored as triglycerides. Kanang mo ng fats no, in your fatty cells. Or the VLDL becomes IDL, LDL. LDL, low density, what's IDL? Intermediate density lipoproteins rather. And what happens is that the cholesterol-rich LDL, low-density lipoproteins, so low-density lipoproteins, a high percent of cholesterol, it then converts or becomes triglycerides. So VLDL to intermediate density lipoprotein to LDL converted, and then from LDL, it transports the cholesterol into the body cells. Okay, what happens that the LDL, the low-density lipoproteins, delivers cholesterol to the body cells here, this part. So this is great. Or here, the HDL picks up excess cholesterol katong wala na distribute sa body cells. No, it's the HDL that picks up the excess cholesterol and delivers to the liver for use or disposal. So katong mga excess nga wala nahatag sa mga cells carried by the LDL, kintabi nga nubra na imo ang cholesterol, all the cells already is cholesterol no needed for the metabolism. Katong excess is already the HDL that will pick up the excess cholesterol and delivers back to the HDL to the liver for disposal or for further use. No? So pwede niya ibalik na po at cycle of ito. Or for disposal, your liver will have another mechanism for disposal. So like all lipids, cholesterol is again insoluble in water. If its level is elevated in the blood serum, sa blood, as I mentioned earlier, plaque-like deposit may form in the inner surface of the arteries. Okay, so diba when the LDL delivers to the cells, no? And if its level is elevated in the blood serum, plaque-like deposit, so magbuubo na siya in the inner surface of the arteries of your blood vessels. And the resulting decrease in the diameter, pag magbuubo na siya, it will form a plaque-like deposits in your arteries. Ang resulta na is there is a decrease in the diameter of the blood vessels. So what happens when there is a decrease in the diameter of your blood vessels? It will in turn decrease the blood flow. So pag ma-decrease ng blood flow sa inyong mga arteries because of the high level of cholesterol, kung ma-deposit ng cholesterol sa mga arteries, no, again, it will form a plaque-like deposit. So pag ma-increase, pag madaghan ng deposit of your cholesterol again to your blood vessels, what happens is ma-decrease ang flow sa blood, sa inyong mga blood vessels, sa inyong mga arteries. So ma-decrease ang flow of blood, this is what we call already as atherosclerosis. Na magka-high blood pressure ka, okay? Along with accompanying high blood pressure, this may lead to heart attack, stroke, or kidney dysfunction. So mapektuhan man ang kidney ana with the blood flow, with the flow of your blood, no? Pag dili ma-regulate ang blood pressure of your body. So that's why if you look at here on the transport of cholesterol, if you want to regulate also, if you want to help your body regulate the cholesterol level, no, of course, in your diet pa lang, no, you want also to regulate on the intake of fatty foods. No, although it's very good, there is a lot of functions that your fatty foods would give to your body, but too much of that is already detrimental. It would pose a higher risk, no, to certain diseases like atherosclerosis. So if you don't want to have arteriosclerosis, want to regulate the cholesterol in your body, you would help your body regulate the cholesterol level by regulating your dietary intake of fatty foods here. Because too much of that cholesterol, once your body, for example, no, would try to deposit the LDL, deposit your cholesterol to your cells, and then excess of that, what will happen? It will be deposited pag dili pagid mag-carry sa HDL, katong excess, no? Ang LDL would distribute that to the different parts of the cell, and if it's too much, too much distribution to different cells, no, what will happen is you will have a plaque-like deposits of cholesterol with too much now. Although your HDL would tend to reduce that one by distributing that back, taking it back to cholesterol to the liver, but sometimes those excess of cholesterol just stay to your blood vessels. And if it's too much, pag daghan na gid balik-balik na siya daghan ng cholesterol levels in your system, it will lead to decrease in blood flow because of the plaque-like deposits due to cholesterol deposit. So arteriosclerosis may worsen the blockage of some arteries by a clot. So sometimes when there's a clot at the point where the arteries are constricted by plaque, so one thing would lead to another. Once it blocks the flow of blood, once it blocks, plaque-like deposits blocks the flow of blood, the arteries are sometimes na clot. Some arteries may also be blocked by a clot, ng clot of your blood vessels at the point where the arteries are constricted by plaque. So pag blood if na I reduce of blood flow, na I plaque here, it may also lead to clotting of your arteries, no? And it will furthermore block the flow of your oxygen of your blood. And of course, your blood carries oxygen, right? So your blood, I don't know if you have reached that in your biology, and your blood carries with it your heme, no, with iron, and it carries oxygen with it to the different parts of the cells. So once there is a blockage to the transport of oxygen, no, the blockage may deprive cells of oxygen, causing them to cease in function. And that is the reason you have the death of heart muscles due to the lack of oxygen. Yan naman, ma-reduce man ang blood flow. Pag ma-reduce ang blood flow, the blood is the carrier of oxygen. The blood contains a heme group with an iron in it. Iron, the heme, it is the one that carries oxygen to the different parts of the cell. So pag ma-reduce ang blood flow, okay, ang carrier sa oxygen, some cells may be deprived of oxygen. So, unsa may tabo, blockage may deprive cells of oxygen and cause them to cease functions. And sometimes the heart muscles, there is a death of heart muscles due to the lack of oxygen. Call that one is a myocardial infarction. So maybe some of you may want to pursue medicine in the future, or usually the biologists want to pursue medicine in the future. And so most cholesterol is transported by low density lipoprotein. And by the way, this disease is actually very, very rapid, no? Pag ma-block ng oxygen, actually, paspas kaayo the death of heart muscle. So I can remember, no? So it's a sad story, no? Some of us may have lost our loved ones during this kind of attack, no? Like, I had my father, I think he had a heart attack during the, I think, COVID time last year. And when there is that blockage, no? So for people who are katong mga obese, no, there's a lot of fats, and there will be times, no, nga there is already a plaque in the blood vessels, but when there is madungagan pagid og clot, no, then further block pagid ang flow of oxygen or flow of blood in your system, and then it will deprive oxygen to different cells in your body and organs, no? And it will affect a lot of organs. It's very fast, no? Sometimes even kanang mga a heart attack. So we always have to be very careful with our intake, and always have to be careful what do we take, no, in our diet, because some group of people actually is it is hereditary. Some people kanang nasa ilang family line, no, that always have kanang medyo chubbyhon, nasa family line there's a history, and there's a great risk. But the diet is very important. As you can see in the previous diagram, no, the diet is very important. So you always have to control your diet. And when sometimes you go fasting if you don't want to have a very high cholesterol in your body. Again, your body can regulate, but too much, your body may not be able to do it. And you have to help your body again to regulate on the cholesterol level. So most cholesterol is transported again by low density lipoproteins if a sufficient number of LDL receptors are found in the surface of the cells. LDL is effectively removed from the circulation and its concentration in the blood. Pag nanay ko, no? Pag if sufficient number of LDL na, so naging regulation always in our body, no? Kanabang na ay traffic controller, no? When one substance is already high, then there is another hormone that would say, okay, stop na the system. And that is how well we are made by our creator. No? It's very regulated. Na imagine kung walay regulation kanang substance kadagan sa chemicals sa atong body. Kung walay regulation, diba, magkagubot gyud. But thank God, God is very good, no? When He made us, there is always a system. No? Imagine kung ang sa traffic pa lang, diba, kung sa traffic, no? Kanang mana mong syudad, diba, grabe naka-traffic ang butuan karon. Kung walay traffic aid, kung walay traffic light, diba, magkaguliyang gid ang kuan. So there is a traffic system actually in our body, no, that would regulate one substance over another. Pag daghan na gani, there is a system that say, okay, stops at the production, for example, of cholesterol, no, and kailangan sa siya i-transport, stops sa kanang LDL, and the LDL is a sufficient number of LDL receptors that found to serve the body. LDL is effectively removed. So wala na pa ng LDL. So dili na siya ma-involved in the process, no? And its concentration in the blood actually drops for the LDL. The number of LDL receptors on the surface of the cells is controlled by the feedback mechanism. There is what we call sa katawang gigan kaganina or traffic control. We call that one in biochemistry as a feedback mechanism. Our body or any animals, even plant cells, no, there is a feedback mechanism. So ng feedback mechanism, we're not sure traffic control. That is, when the concentration of cholesterol molecules inside the cell is high, no, pagtaas na, the synthesis of LDL receptor is suppressed because it is the one, the LDL magod, is the carrier of cholesterol to the different cells. So pagtaas ng cholesterol, maingon na ang atong system, daw, ay taas ng cholesterol sa LDL, ayun na pag stop na because it's already high. So LDL is effectively removed and synthesis of LDL receptor is suppressed. So as a consequence, less LDL is taken into the cells from the plasma and the LDL concentration in the plasma rises. Okay, so diba, the LDL is taken to the cells in the plasma, so masuppress siya, diba? So when masuppress siya to the cells, muna the LDL concentration in the plasma rises. Kaya dili naman siya mag-distribute to the different cells, to the cells rather. So sa plasma siya mag-stay ang LDL when it does not transport cholesterol. So kaya dito na kayo, saan yung oras? Okay, patay time. So conversely, when the cholesterol level inside the cell is low, the synthesis of the LDL receptors, so kung ang level of LDL sa atong body is, when the cholesterol level is low inside the cell, so muna po itong system, the feedback mechanism nga, uy, gamay na po, traffic control, pwede na mo sulod mo, kuan na po, paanyaan na po si LDL sa cells, kay wala na po yung cholesterol. So there's a traffic system. We call that one again, it's a feedback mechanism para ma-control. Kung gamay na, it will signal send LDL para ma-increase na po para matagaan na po the cholesterol on cells. And as a consequence, the LDL is taken up more rapidly and this level in the plasma falls. So kung gikan sa plasma nga taas si LDL, no, mo transport na po siya to the cells, so mo gamay na po ang sa plasma, kay mobali naman po si LDL into the cells, carrying with it the cholesterol. Sinana ra ang traffic flow of the LDL and cholesterol in the body. In certain cases, however, there are not enough LDL receptors in the disease called familiar hypercholesterolemia. The cholesterol level in the plasma may be as high as 680 milligrams per 100 ml. So the LDL or the cholesterol level in the plasma may be as high as 680 mg per 100 ml compared to 175 mg cholesterol per 100 ml the plasma. You call this one as hypercholesterolemia. This high levels of cholesterol can lead to premature arteriosclerosis and heart attack. Nga naman, si cholesterol na ara sa imong blood, wala siya na-transport into the different cells. Katong iyang use dapat ma-transport magud si cholesterol, dili siya magstay sa plasma, sa blood ba? Sa blood, no? Dapat na siya sa cells, different cells, para magamit siya, ma-convert siya para sa synthesis to different, for example, hormones. And what will happen? Magka-taas ang imong cholesterol level in the blood, for example, instead of around 175 milligrams lang of your cholesterol. Again, whenever there is a cholesterol, no, there is also the LDL, because it is the LDL that carries the cholesterol, the low density lipoprotein. The lipoprotein is always the one that carries the cholesterol. So si cholesterol nara na siya kang LDL when it is in the blood. Okay? And these high levels of cholesterol can lead to premature arteriosclerosis and heart attack. Wala na siya, no? Kakos siya ko ay blockage. Arteriosclerosis, the high plasma cholesterol levels in affected patients occur because the blood lacks functional Ldl receptors, or enough are produced, they are not concentrated in the coated bits. Nara siya sa plasma. Okay, in general, the high LDL content means you have a high cholesterol content in the plasma. So kung magpa-blood test mo kibaling, no? Pa-blood test mo ito mag-doktor, kung baan mo kimurag, sakit niyo yung dughan, at sa taas mo cholesterol. Ang cholesterol ninyo nara na siya sa inyong nara sa inyong plasma, sa inyong dugo, no? Wala pa siya na-transport into your different cells. Nga kailangan siya nga naman, satisfy naman sa inyong cells niya. Magstay siya sa inyong blood, kay napa may cholesterol imong mga cells, no? So pag magpa-test mo and you have a very high LDL content, it means that you have a very high cholesterol content also, because it's the LDL carries your cholesterol to the different cells. Therefore, a high LDL level combined with a low HDL level is a symptom of faulty cholesterol transport and a warning for possible arteriosclerosis. Say pasabot-an na, di ba, remember, it's the LDL that carries the cholesterol paingon sa cell. Pero kung wala gani na siya na puno na gani ang cell of cholesterol, ang imong LDL carrying with it the cholesterol, stay na siya sa imong plasma, sa imong dugo, no? And kung low ang imong LDL, HDL, okay, wala pa niya nabalik into the liver. It's the HDL that carries the cholesterol box to the liver, no? So pag blood test mo and you have a very high LDL level and low HDL level, it means that you have it is a warning for a possible atherosclerosis. One in your doctor, it is a warning for a possible atherosclerosis. The serum cholesterol level controls the amount of cholesterol synthesized by the liver. When serum cholesterol is high, synthesis is at low level. Conversely, when the serum cholesterol is low, synthesis of cholesterol increases. Remember, di ba, the feedback mechanism, Pag taas ang imong cholesterol sa imong body, will not synthesize. Cholesterol will synthesize. Pag mubo, that's the time when the serum, the synthesis of cholesterol will increase. Okay? Naman ang feedback mechanism. Pagtaas, so pagtaas ang content, for example, cholesterol, the feedback mechanism is to i-lower ang production, ang manufacture. Pag ubos pod, ang signal pod, ang feedback mechanism pod is taasan ang production. And that feedback mechanism actually is true, not just for the cholesterol distribution and manufacture, but also for other, how do you call this? Biochemicals in your body. Like for example, thyroxine, kanang mga thyroid hormones, sex hormones, growth hormones, daghan, no? In your body. You have always cholesterol. But as now, sa pamani, diets low in cholesterol and saturated fatty acids usually reduce serum cholesterol level, and a number of drugs can inhibit the synthesis of cholesterol in the liver. Remember, that's the liver that synthesizes cholesterol, right? So there are drugs that could inhibit the synthesis, not just convert. But again, as I mentioned earlier, no, if you take diets that is low in cholesterol, no, it also reduces serum cholesterol level in the body. So it can actually help your body. And yeah, and also decrease your chance of getting atong atherosclerosis or increased high blood pressure that would lead to heart attack, no, because the reduced blood flow sa time na. And commonly used, there is a drug that prevents or inhibits the synthesis of cholesterol in the liver. Commonly used drugs, statin drugs such as atorvastatin, Lipitor, simvastatin, Zocor, and inhibits the key enzyme or biocatalyst in cholesterol synthesis. So you have this. So in this way, they block synthesis of cholesterol inside the cells and stimulate the synthesis of Ldl receptor proteins. They're the one that carries, and more LDL then enters the cells, diminishing the amount of cholesterol that will be deposited on the inner walls of arteries. So it is generally considered desirable to have high levels of HDL and low levels of LDL. So again, if in the future, or magpa-check mo sa inyong parents, no, check, tanawin ninyo kung saang level of LDL or HDL ang